right, to start with, I haven't really done this before, had a talk like this. I pitched and stuff before, but I haven't really done like a long-ass talk. So I have no idea how long these notes are going to last. We're just going to have to wait and see. But we'll do questions and stuff at the end. It's also kind of comforting to know half the people in the room, so I like that. All right, so my name is Losonci. I used to study development here at the Game back in the day. Didn't finish, but I studied. I'm now the creative lead and owner of a startup called Tall Tales. We focus on, quite simply, fantasy experiences for adults and kids alike. Mostly focused on outdoor activities for kids, like video games, but outside. Now, before we dive in to the nitty-gritty of all that, I want you to picture the following. The square right over there, you know, the big square down at with the big church, and in the middle of it, there stands a wizard. Full-blown wizard. We're talking like huge wizard hat, 2-meter-long staff with a crystal on the end, long flowing robes with archaic runes. And next to him, a garden cart. That one. Crammed with swords and shields and stuff, and the wizard handing out flyers going, please join the adventure at 1 o'clock, please. But kind of, before we get into that, because I spent many a moment there wondering why on earth I was sweating in a thick wool wizard hat, because that wizard was me, I'm going to do a little bit of backstory. And it kind of starts in 2020, because what I've done all my life is I've created events for fun, mostly just for fun, for friends and the like, but also for profit. And one thing I did in 2020 was I ran D&D games, you all probably know it, for adults and kids alike. I had adults that I was drinking beer with and rolling dice, and they paid me to entertain them, and I was introducing the new generation to clickety-clackety dice. That was great, had a lot of fun. And something happened in 2020. COVID. And suddenly, 5 to 7 adults could not be sitting at a table indoors and have fun anymore. So suddenly, my business was completely out the window, like many others at that time, and I had to think quick, pivot. First of all, I need to figure out who the hell is even allowed to do anything anymore. So I looked at the government regulations, I pored over them, and most people weren't even allowed to look at each other at that time. But kids between 5 and 15 were not only allowed, but encouraged to go outdoors and do physical activity. Issue with that is, when I was a kid, physical activity was not my thing. Video games was. I was inside playing like the 700 hour of Heroes of Might and Magic 3 instead of being outside. Great game, showing my age. So it got me thinking, what have torn 10-year-old me from that screen and outdoors? Well, something as cool as video games. So that's what we set out to create. The result was initially called Sauce and Sorcery. Let me go ahead and talk a little about the activity. Let's see if this play button works over here. Oh, no, it didn't. Is it this way? There we go. Right. Heroes is a 90-minute activity outside for kids, adrenaline-fueled, led by costume game masters, and they take on all manner of different game modes. Everything from stealing dragon eggs to each other, fighting bosses, that's him over there, by the way, standing there as a samurai, ambushing each other in Nattvacht, pretending to be zombies and raising each other from the dead. What else we got? Surviving the Hunger Games, that's a favorite among the kids. Defending narrow bridges. There's some really weird ones, like throwing slime at each other, which is just green dodgeballs. They get equipped with all the stuff they recognize from video games, like swords and fireballs and healing potions and power shields and all that. And then when they come back, the next session, they level up and you unlock the bigger shields, the cooler stuff, multiple fireballs, all that stuff. And the plan was to get parents to pay for the privilege of their kids beating each other up with all this. So how did that go? Well, in 2021, I convinced a good friend of mine, he's sitting right there actually, which is very nice, over there, to join me in this crazy endeavor. So he played a samurai, by the way. Kids loved that. He looked way cooler than me. It was really annoying. And we scrounged up like 10,000 Swedish crowns for a trial run. We ordered a modest, that's the first shipment we got on my living room floor of cool stuff. I put like text over it and put it on Facebook. I was so happy about it. And we started, slapped together a website, open booksing, got myself a sweet wizard outfit. Really liked that one. I missed the mustache. And the first weekend we sold out. And we ordered more stuff. We increased the player cap, and we sold out again. And then that cycle kind of repeated itself all summer. And 3 months later, we were very tanned, very tired of dragging that garden cart, because we dragged it from down here up to Österput every single day to do those games. I pushed, he pulled. But we had made 600K that year. The 550, I think, something like that. So 550K, so we was like, this is awesome. This is really working. So we decided that we're going to divide and conquer. So Wizard stayed in Visby. Samurai went to Stockholm. Made sense with the SS and VV. And it went great. We doubled last year's revenue. And we won this local pitch meetup here in this room, actually. Got a snazzy diploma and everything. And thanks to that, we got invited to Dragon's Den, where we pitched. The funniest moment on Dragon's Den, because we went in there with a really cocky evaluation, like it was really cocky, was when this power woman, I don't remember her name, she had like a fierce, really, really scary. She looks at us and goes, "It's really cocky to come in here and value yourself to 40 million. And that guy, he stands there dressed like that, and he just goes, "Thank you." And you just start laughing their asses off. And they didn't really call us on that afterwards. You really diffused the situation. So we carried on. We ordered a bunch of dragons. We set our sights on 6 cities, animatronic those. They move their wings and talk and stuff. We thought we were invincible at this point. The absolute hubris we had. We were not invincible. At all. And we're going to get to that, because I figure it's more interesting to talk about the things that went bad and then all the things that went good. But before we continue the story, we're going to dive into kind of how the game works a bit, the stuff I stole from video games, the stuff we shouldn't have stolen from video games, the stuff we got for free from video games we didn't want. And after that, I'm going to talk about what went spectacularly wrong and then kind of right again. So let's start with the core aspect of any game system. Pedagogic thing. Thank you, Elias, you're a savior. Ruining my reveal moment here. Okay, so the basis of any system, game system, is points. It's how you get the rewards. It's really like, how do the kids get points? Well, I mean, we're giving them swords and shields and fireballs and stuff, so obviously when they win and kill each other, horrible idea. It gave us this raging barbarian horde of kids completely dead behind the eyes, doing anything to win the game. It was dreadful. So we thought again. We rethinked our approach. And what kind of behavior do we actually want to encourage? Let's give points for that, because then the kids do the things we want. And we settled on 3 very simple things, and it's still how they get points to this day. That's been the same since 2021. I made too many slides about everything burning to the ground, so this is going to be a bit sparse here, but we get to the better point. So, first thing you get points for is die an epic death. Because we want the kids to take their hits, so when we give them points for dying an epic death, they're going to take their hits, because then they're going to die the epic death and get the points. So when you die, you're supposed to throw yourself, roll 3 meters, put the sword right here and tongue out of your mouth, and we see that and we give them points. Then we have get hyped. Because if one kid is hype, it spreads. It's contagious. So when we ask if Team Red is ready, the more ready they are, the more points they get. We want slamming on shields and roaring defiance into the other team's face. And it worked. They started charging into battle. It was kind of scary at some points. And finally, third way to get points was take care of each other. If a smaller kid needs help getting a shield on, because they were surprisingly tricky for the small kids, those shields. If someone falls down and needs to get up, if the 15-year-old on the red team runs up to the 6-year-old on the blue team and doesn't launch them over the wall, but instead fight nicely with the little kid for a while, that's a ton of points. But that gave us a problem keeping track of points, because we didn't have code and stuff to do all that. We had to like figure out a way to know which team or player had points. And we went through some absolutely awful ways of doing it. At one point we had hanging little notebooks that we wrote the tabard number on the kid on, so we later could verify that and cross it. It was dreadful. But we found something that really, really worked. Simple and kind of hilarious. It's tally counters. Tally counters. We ordered wrong, so the green team is blue. The kids love that. We go very swiftly. This is the points for the red team, pointing at the red. This is the points for the blue team, pointing at the green. It really fucks with their heads. So whenever blue team did something that gave points, I clicked for the blue team. Whenever red team did something that gave points, I clicked for the red team. And whichever team has the more clicks at the end of the session, they get extra skill points to spend on leveling up. So it was like, we were basically clicker training the kids at one point, because they associated this with them doing good. It's a bit like a Pavlovian response. Die epically, click. Be nice, click. Get hyped, click. Worked brilliant. So what were points used for? Leveling up. And this is kind of where we start stealing stuff, where we did before, but really steal stuff from the video game industry. Because we had the classical skill tree that they could unlock things in and multi-class and do all manner of things based on their attendance and points. And they could mix and match those skills to have unique loadouts, like basically any video game. We also stole achievements, because everyone loves achievements. So when it started out as basically a simple ranking system, where basically the more you played, we had a high score, we printed out each time. But now it's like more like a battle pass kind of thing, where they kind of, every time they come, they go one step and it unlocks stuff over here and so on. Completely, entirely picked from the video game industry. We also stole the idea, this is a bit more reprehensible, but cosmetics. The swords you get to borrow, I mean, they work, but they're kind of plain. But the swords we sell, dwarven rune-forged blades or jade dowels and all manner of things. And they could buy those and bring home and practice at home and look really cool on the battlefield. But they didn't need them to play the game, and they weren't better playing the game. Honestly, that thing is kind of worse because it weighs more. So we had the whole like kind of aspect of cosmetics shouldn't actually affect power in the game. You can't buy power with money. Some things did not translate well. We learned that the hard way. Like some kind of advanced hit point tracking. That works really well if you want a kid to, in the middle of an epic duel, blue screen and freeze as they try and do math. It's not great. So we couldn't do that. Awesome abilities that you can do against other players. Well, it doesn't feel great when you throw your hand out as a mage and yell, frost freeze, and the kid doesn't hear it and just keeps running. So we had to kind of like base all the abilities inside the players themselves, stuff they can keep track of themselves, which limited us a lot. And there's so many things you get for free when you have code behind the scenes running it. You get like very reliable digital logic. Well, kids aren't digital. They're not ones and zeros. They're analog madmen. They're driven by nothing but pure chaos, and they will gleefully break any game system you make weak enough to let them. So we had to kill so many weak game systems, so many darling skills, so many fun stuff that just didn't work in meat space. And some things we kind of got as part of the package when we made this points-based, progression-based, skill level up system. We didn't really know how to feel about that. Like Wales, when we crunched the numbers and realized that 7% of our players stood for 50% of our revenue in ticket and gear, mixed emotions in the office about that one. How do we feel about that? Which I'm sure is mirrored in the video game industry. And to kind of end this portion about the systems we use, I kind of want to talk about, let's actually go there. It's kind of ironic, but after all this, talking about all the stuff that we can't do with code, there are thousands of lines of code making sure we can do what we can in the way we want to do it. Because even in the most analog of endeavors and startups, Having development experience and capabilities on the team means you can do the impossible possible, you can do the impractical practical, and you can also do the unscalable scalable. And I'll give you an example on some iterations we did on a particular. There's many more, but let's talk about teams. Even teams. It's a simple concept. Even a kid can do it. And they do it. They notice immediately when there's like one more kid on that team. It's uncanny. It's like they can feel the absolute injustice of it. So we want even teams. So it's easy. Just do it on a piece of paper. Write down all the names here and all the names here. Brilliant. Even teams. Oh, one team has all the teens, and the other has all the young ones, and you're absolutely obliterating that team and feeling really bad about it. Well, that's not great. Okay, cool. So, fine, let's roll up Google Sheets and make some kind of thing. So we did. What we do is we add up all the ages, and we make a power level, and we make sure that is even. Then we have even teams. Great, brilliant, all done. Don't have to do anything, few lines of code. Except that some have leveled. So suddenly you have all the kids with the cool shit on the one team and the plebs on the other, and they're absolutely getting rolled by that team. Problem. Fine. I guess we'll add like skill level. Oh no, I'm kind of advancing a bit. We'll add skill level, and we add that to the power level, and now it's even again. Great. But all the kids who signed up together want to be on the same team, obviously, because they get really upset otherwise. Okay, so we have to reference WooCommerce with like some kind of Google Sheets function call to get the emails, put them into groups, and assign those groups. Okay, cool, we're done. Everything's perfect. Then we come to check-in, and some kid doesn't show up, and suddenly the teams are uneven again. So fine, I'll make an app. It's an app. It's a magic button. You press it, and it makes even teams. I'll even make it make like a little happy sound as you do it. Done. The point is, code helps even in the most analog of endeavors. And it's also kind of funny because when I look back at that, I've learned that one of the most important things is that, like I said, when I look back at this and the previous super Yankee Google Sheet stuff, or like the flyers and posters I made, or the game systems we thought were brilliant at the time, I physically cringe. And that was like last year. But it was the best I could do at the time. I mean, it did the best and it served us well, but in retrospect, made me cringe. So, the important thing is that now, when I look back, I can see like the progress and I realize that every step I took was still a step, no matter how imperfect it was. And it led to me being where I am today. So, and if nothing else, they make for great stories and absolute amazing rants afterwards. Okay. And speaking of things that look awful in hindsight, let's talk about 2023. So we were on top of the world. We had bought insane amounts of swords, other equipment, got the permits, bought the dragons, did all that. Super ready. 6 cities we were doing. Malmö, Visby, Stockholm, Göteborg, Uppsala, Örebro. We don't talk about Örebro. It's an awful place. I'm never setting my foot in that city again. Like I even bought like the dragons for all the game masters, so standing in that sad square was less sad and more fun and awesome. And nothing could go wrong, we felt. Well, many things went very wrong, but let's start talking about the biggest one, which was rain. It rained more during our 3-month season than it did in the entirety of 2022. So, had to cancel 55% of our bookings. And with game masters still on salary, because that's how the Swedish employment law works, we had made room in the budget for 33% cancellation, which felt ludicrously high in spring, the naive times of spring. So, cue the panic. We just extended ourselves very, very hard, and we are hitting half our revenue goals. And that was rough. So I want to talk a bit about stress. As fall had some of the toughest moments of my life. Morale, non-existent. I mean, who wants to fight for a sinking ship that's obviously sinking? And previous glory and successes and stuff amount for very little when the money runs out. I'll tell you that. So I had to have some awful conversations. And stress, it sits on your back every minute of every day if you let it. Now, what happened to me, and it's not going to be applicable for everyone, but for me it came down to this. I managed to separate in my head all of the things which I actually have power over, and all of the things which I absolutely cannot affect. I think that's like an AA proverb I stole, but it worked for me. And it kind of let me sit at a distance and look over there and see, yeah, that's a huge fucking problem over there, but I can't really do anything about it, so feeling really bad about it isn't doing me any good. And it worked, because after a while I'd done everything I could to fix the situation, and all I could do was wait, and I could be comfortable in that, which really surprised me. But like I said, not applicable for everyone, but it worked for me. So, in the end, it all kind of worked out. This is projections, by the way. I might be back next year with another burnt thing. But the efforts I had made to secure the future of Tall Tales worked out. We got the funding we needed to continue and even thrive now in 2024. I realized that the bad times often come by absolute chance and feel very, very unfair. But getting out of them and surviving is also very much up to chance. So you just got to do what you can. But the things you learn from surviving, if you do, not everyone is as lucky, is pure gold. Those lessons are invaluable. Like, we learned so many hard lessons that year. I'm not going to go into length about them. I'm just going to mention a bit. Diversification. Oh yeah, that's me. Having a duel with a kid. I lost. Diversification. We have had more birthday parties and team building events and bachelorette parties. Anything that's out of our main current season, we're focusing great on to diversify over the entire year. Because if you make all your money in 3 months and those 3 months somehow get spoiled, you get screwed, as we did. We've updated our contracts with game masters to redirect their time better when games are cancelled, so we don't pay them for nothing. We've also taken the best game masters of the previous year and made them team leaders. So we take some pressure off the office and they can feel that they kind of own the activity and own the product, like I did when I was Master Carfoot back in the day. And finally, I've gone back to being Master Carfoot, because in 2023, I spent all my time behind the desk. I was rarely out with the kids, and I was out there for hundreds of hours every summer before. And what that does, it makes you entirely lose contact with the product, which is really, really bad, because you focus on the administration and the pitching and the economy and all of that stuff that comes with doing a business, but you don't focus on the stuff that actually makes the business a success in the first place. So the product stagnated, because I wasn't there to see it working, what wasn't, or steal the brilliant ideas the kids came up with constantly, because a lot of the system is built by them going, why don't we do this? And I'm like, that's a good point. Why don't we do that? Like the fact that we had very strict rules for, like, you get a sword and you get something else in your other hand. It could be a shield, a fireball, a healing potion, whatever. And they went, but if I want a shield and a healing potion, and I'm like, you can't fight then. He's like, I don't wanna. And I'm like, that's a good point. So now they get to mix and match the skills and make really unique loadouts in the game, which really helps a lot. So Master Crawford is back, and it feels kind of great, to be honest. How long have I gone? Oh, shit. Oh, actually, it's pretty good. I kind of forgotten how fun it was to just be immersed in the actual experience and just stand out there and get tanned. And we don't have the cart anymore. We actually have a car, so we don't have to pull that garden cart up the hills of Visby. Tomorrow, I'm going to unveil my new sweet-ass wizard outfit at the party, and I'm going to hold an arena. We all get to wield swords and shields and such in an arena much like that, and fight each other. We're looking forward to that. It's mostly about unveiling the wizard outfit, actually. You can kind of settle your grievances if you have any, or just have some fun. I kind of think that's all I wrote yesterday, at least. So I'm kind of gonna go ahead and call it a day there. But I will take questions, because that's where I shine. Yeah.
What was the age limit?
5 to 15 initially, which worked pretty good. Now we do 6 to 15. And we just play at the same time. And we have some rules to make it so you get extra points if you like help the little ones and protect them. To kind of make the teens feel more like the veterans of the group leading their young ones into battle. So you can sometimes see one of them surrounded by like a bunch of tiny hordes just going, charge!
Do they have the same rules? Like
Exactly the same rules. We have a very simple system. Like I said, advanced hit point tracking did not work. That went out the window very quickly. It's literally if you take a hit here, you're dead. If you take a hit in the back, you're dead. If you lose an arm, put it behind your back, lose the other arm, you're dead. Leg, you have to skip around the battlefield, keep fighting, lose the other leg, you're out. And finally, around the battlefield, we have rope. And we tell them, huge 30 by 40 arena, by the way. And we tell them that inside here is a magical land of fantasy. Wizards exist, dragons exist, magic exists. You can steal dragon eggs, you can steal treasures from trolls and stuff. Out there is reality. Taxes, homework, chores, school. Take a single step outside the playing field and you're struck by the lightning bolt of reality and die immediately. Kind of keeps you in the playing field, but makes it fun. Any other questions? Sure.
What would you say if you could make the decision all over again? Would you go do a different kind of game company like this again, or would you go and make a video game instead?
I mean, you do what you can, and this is kind of where making stuff work in meat space is kind of where it works for me. Like all my life I've been throwing like these advanced parties, like post-apocalyptic parties with like barter systems in it and everything, and learning how to make stuff work when you don't have code, that's what I could do. So I made this. And during the, what's InSpark in English? When the students, the freshman week or whatever. Yeah, that was also Swedish, but thank you. Yeah.
Did you ever think about touring with the same idea to different places, not just the same location? Like
Yeah, we've exactly. We consider doing like, because one of our best weeks a year is Medieval Week here in Visby, because it's a huge influx of people. There's a market and everything. We have a stall, and we do insane amounts of tickets that week and also sales. So there's a bunch of medieval markets all over Sweden. So we consider going to those, and also just because it's very drag and drop. It's literally one caddy packed to the brim with swords and shields and stuff that can drive anywhere. So the goal eventually, this year we're doing 4 cities, but the goal eventually is to expand, but a bit more cautiously this time. With hängslen och livrem, what's that in? Suspenders and belts at the same time. But yeah, touring is one thing we're planning on doing.
just inside Sweden or maybe Nordic countries? I think this is a big market for this in the whole Nordic region.
Yeah, I think so.
Berlin and those countries there.
Exactly, and we have people in Gothenburg and Malmö as well, so it's not even, we drive to different events already. So I think absolutely that's something we're looking at, 100%. Yeah?
Have you encountered any angry parents skeptical about letting their children fight with swords?
Well, in Örebro, God damn it, it's like the city of Karens. Okay. No, we've had like the Facebook comment going, should kids really be doing this in the current climate we're having and such? Like, of course we had. We write them a very diplomatic response saying that, I mean, escapism is escapism. You kind of need it in times like this. And with the systems we have, we try and focus on the positive instead of the negative. The dying and killing is just kind of a side effect of having epic adventures. Then we hide those comments, no one else sees it. That's okay to do. You answer them, then you hide them. Anything else?
Talking about the parents, how many parents also want to join on it? Because it seems super fun, and I guess lots of them would like it.
Well, the thing is, we do events for adults as well. We do have family events as well, where both the kids and the parents join in. They love that. When the parents actually get to hold a sword for the first time, they're delighted. Because everyone's a kid at heart. Even the team building things we do, for like we did Spotify and Amazon and some other Stockholm City, they just act pretty much the same as the kids when they get the swords in their hands. We do the same rules as well. I usually tell them that I'm not changing my material at all from 12-year-olds. I'm telling you the exact same thing. And they love it. And they really like beating up middle management. And I make like the CEO like a troll guarding a cave of treasure with 2 big stone hammers, and they try and steal shit from him. So it's exactly, adults love it as well. Every year I invite, during Medieval Week when I have my birthday, I invite 100 people, like friends and stuff, to do exactly this down in Östergava. It's a blast every time. Except when I did boss fight, because when you have like 60 kids running at you, coming to fight you, it's kind of manageable. When you have 60 adults charging at full pace ahead of you with their shields in front of them, you get moved horizontally very fast.
Did you need any metrics regarding kids' profit and adults' profit if you're invested in adults' events as well? And there's a market that could be.
When it comes to actual share of profits, it's still small. We're kind of working in that segment this year to like spread the revenue out. But there's also something I think is valuable for everyone. You can really invoice a company a lot when you do things. You can have the exact same activity with the exact same people that for a birthday party, and you get like 3K, 4K for a birthday party. Exact same thing, it's only 15, 20K for a company. Because that's how it works. That's the market you play into when you advertise those. Any other questions?
Do you have any collaboration with the school? Because as I can see, it's for the school kids, school age kids. Do you have any like a collaboration, for example, for someone?
We really wanted to, but it's a pretty rigid system here in Sweden for who is allowed to do stuff in schools. Now, a lot of schools kind of bend those rules and let people do, but if you try and play by the system on a large scale, it's kind of hard to get into that. They have some programs, which is also really good for you guys to know, because it's a lärande skola, learning school it's called, where you can basically create a product and put it in a catalog, and then the schools can buy the product from that catalog and you get the gigs. So if you make like some kind of like educational game and stuff, it's pretty easy to get into the catalog, and then you get gigs whenever they come up. But we'd love to be more in schools, so we're going to try and focus on that and kind of like take over PE or something is what we're thinking, because it's both great advertising. But it's also the problem of being in a school, because every kid who comes there has chosen that. They're there because they like it. They think it's exciting. The second you're in a school environment with a full class of kids, you have dynamics that aren't there when there's only kids who show up who want to have fun. You have kids who say it's cringe because they think it's cool to say it's cringe, and so that kind of spreads to the others, and suddenly you have this just mess of dynamics. We've done a few school events, we noticed that there.
Forced participation is never fun.
Exactly. We see it in birthday parties as well. There's a big difference with someone playing a game because they want to, or playing a game because they're forced to. And it tells with the experience. Sorry, yeah. Hey, go ahead.
Talk about expansion. Do you also, I don't know if you have that already, do you have a ranking of teams using XP and everything with all the locations that you are in, so you can actually incentivize retention of people, of people getting the same teams again and playing again, and so I want to be the best at things like MMOs?
Yeah, we do. That's one of the big, because retention, like I think in any game, is absolutely as important as us. If someone comes 2 or 3 times, they come 10 or 15 times. It's getting them to, and I think that's the same as playing the first part of the game or something. If you get them to do that, like after a certain stage, the retention rate just goes sky up. So everything we do is made to get them to come back. Whenever they finish a game, their parent gets a text saying that your kid is leveled. There's a login. Go level them up, and the kids can go in and like peruse all the different skills they can have, and they look forward to using it next time. That's by plan, that's by design. We want them to get it at the end of the game, and then they have to come back to actually use their new bigger shield or extra fireball and stuff like that. We have ranking as well on that site, where they can see kind of where they rank. We used to do high score, where the kids could kind of knock each other down from like the top lists and stuff. And in a very soft game system, that was kind of jarringly harsh, because you had some kid who spent all summer here in Visby playing games, ranking up points, appearing on the Visby scoreboard, went back to Malmö, and suddenly was at the top. And like, I've never seen this kid before in my life. Who is he? So this year we did a ranking system where it's individual. If you play this many games, you're this rank. If you play this many games, you're that. So everyone can be ranked diamond if you just play enough, and there's no more bad feels between the kids. No one else? Gonna wrap it up?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.